hear like an echo in your head. There's a strange vibration rising out from the heart of America, America. Listen to the sound of the drum calling players to the game of the new world order. Don't be caught unaware when the heads start rolling. No, it couldn't happen here. I know it wouldn't happen here. Well, I will not submit to authority of man. I'm alive, I'm awake. This is more than I can take. If you had an open door, would you kill a little more? Listen to the cries of the dead in the wake of the Sudan. Is there no one out there? I see blood in the sands of despair in Africa. Listen to the sound of applause in a chamber full of men selling out their people as they plan their assault on the heart of America. No, it couldn't happen here. I know it never happened here. I will not submit to authority of man. I'm alive, I'm awake. This is more than I can take.
Yes, and I'm alive and I'm awake too. This is Chuck Horton, your host tonight for Double Cross Radio, and we're gonna be joined in just a minute or so by Jordan Page. I just wanted to welcome all our listeners, whether you're listening to this live or you're listening to this on a podcast or a YouTube. Thank you for all tuning in and using this as your source of honest truth. Tonight we're broadcasting high from the second story penthouse skyscraper in the megapolis of Medford, Oregon. It's a secure location, and so that we're not going to reveal the address so that you would know where it was. And thousands of fans would come and harass us all the time. So we'll just leave it at that. Secure location, deep in the heart of freedom here in Southern Oregon. And that's enough of me babbling on. Jordan Page, welcome back to our show.
Hey, thanks, Chuck, for having me, buddy.
Yeah, and in case some of you guys don't know, that song that leads us in every week, listen, that's one of my favorites. It might not be the favorite, but it's the most perfect song for this show. So this is still one of my favorite songs. I must have listened to that over 1,000 times since I first heard it, and I still am not tired of it at all. And we're just really pleased that you could join us tonight.
Oh, it's great to be here, man. I'm honored that you guys used the song for sure.
Yeah, well, I thought we got a lot of things we want to talk to you about, but I noticed that, maybe it was a few months ago, you were finding there were a lot of people out there that were just still starting to discover your music and didn't realize that there's a lot of other music out there besides maybe the one or two songs that they knew about. Mm-hmm. And you were just putting out some tags. So I thought that maybe some of the people in this audience might like to hear some of these awesome lyrics to your songs, because aside from being a great singer and a really good, really good guitar player, and he writes great music, he also is a poet, and he's just his lyrics are just, they tell stories that are just the truth, and because of that, they never seem to lose their relevance. And some of them are just really moving to me, but I thought I would start with Listen, because that's our theme song. And
okay.
I think I got to get here so I don't quote this improperly. When this starts out, the song starts out, it starts out with kind of almost the first few notes or like something out of maybe an Arabic song. That's
exactly right. It's a Middle Eastern scale, called Hizaz Kiyar, and it's basically a major Phrygian scale. So it's got some minor notes and some major notes in it, and it takes some turns that the normal do re mi scale doesn't take. It takes some pretty big leaps that create that that Middle Eastern sound. It's a scale that you culturally associate with the Middle East. You've heard it in lots of movies that take place in that part of the world.
Yeah, and it's what I think it's what really sets the tone for it. There's a lot of well, I used to have a longer version that made some references to Vietnam and all this, but this song that you put on the Liberty record is a little bit shorter, and it's talking about stuff. It's this problem that's in the Middle East that isn't going away. It's been a problem there for a couple thousand years, and this is that's part of like a subconscious message that I got. Maybe you didn't mean to put it in there, but it's telling me that this is that tone is. There's something going on here, and it isn't just something that happened a couple of weeks ago or back in 2001. It's been going on for a long time.
Well, sure, and the song, just from my perspective, I wrote this song at the end of I guess the end of December 2006, and I was playing with those scales, and I was really playing with information and learning what was going on. I just written a song called Pendulum, which had sort of changed my perspective on things, and it opened my eyes to a lot that I didn't even realize was there. And I felt like, God was, ushering me down a whole new road in my life. And, Listen was the very next song that I wrote. And I had kind of dove in head first into a bunch of Alex Jones films and into some books that were blowing my mind. And so, like the lyrics really, it was my first real anti-war song. And it was like that song is what really solidified my desire to become an anti-war activist, because it was like, it's my definitive anti-establishment song. I will not submit to authority of man. It doesn't get more clear than that. I'm not mincing words.
No, and it's very inspiring every time I hear it. I'm getting chills right now.
I'll tell you a little story that, like you mentioned the line about Vietnam, and when I first wrote it, that line, it says, listen to the words from the ghost of Vietnam through a veil of napalm. Don't forget your mistakes and where you came from. And I always felt like that line was saying, like, we're making the same mistakes now. We're doing the same things now in Afghanistan and Iraq that we did in Vietnam. And, my dad's a Vietnam vet, and I got his perspective all my life, and so like the ghost of Vietnam, or like would be like the legacy of Vietnam, or the lessons learned there, or lessons not learned there, and just trying to draw the correlation between the Vietnam War and the Iraq-Afghanistan conflicts, and but at the same time, Charles, I never felt like that was the right line for that song, and so. But and I never spoke about it. I sang it, and that's how people knew it, and that's what it was in the acoustic version that I recorded for my Revolution EP. But then the day that I was recording the Liberty album, and I had recorded all the music. And the day that I went in to record the vocals for that song, for Listen, for the rock version, I was driving to the studio, and I started praying, and I asked God to reveal to tell me what the real line is supposed to be there. And no sooner had I asked the question that I heard a voice say, listen to the words from the man with the rifle in his hand. Don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. And I was like, oh shit, like that's the line. That's what it was always supposed to be. Like I just couldn't hear it until I was ready, I guess, And so that's the line that's in there. That's in the rock version.
Yeah, and it's this song, like I said, it couldn't have a more perfect song for the show that we wanted. Drew is the one that launched the show, but this was the vision that we all shared about. There's truth out there, and you have to go and find it, because you're not going to get it listening to the mainstream media. They're just propagandists for the people that run the world. You got to go out there and find the truth. And when you find it, you have to listen to what this truth is, and you have to understand it, internalize it, because it's affecting your life and you don't even know it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we ignore the systems of control for the most part that govern most aspects of our lives. Like not dealing with them is much easier for our daily happiness than dealing with them. It's a lazier approach, but it's a very passive approach and allows us to just kind of blissfully go about our day without being aware of what's going on. But while we do that, 100 years of doing that have got us into the situation we're in now, and it's not going to take another 100 years to get us to the end result, to the end game of what these people in charge have in mind. I mean, like the longer that we remain complacent, the longer that we remain, willfully ignorant and willfully blind, the sooner it will be that, the darkness that's coming is going to descend. And so, with this kind of song, it's meant to stir your emotions. It's meant to get you interested and to get you charged up, and so that trying to break the spell of apathy and help people to start giving a crap again.
Yeah, and those people that rule the world, they're having a meeting coming up here. I think it starts next week at Bilderberg.
I think they're doing it right now, aren't they? I think
Well,
Luke Rudkowski
they're
there now.
doing the preliminary stuff, and they've already kicked all the reporters out of this perimeter. And yeah, it's kind of starting, but I think not everybody's arrived yet.
Okay,
But nobody can find Hillary Clinton.
interesting.
Yeah, or Jeb Bush. They've disappeared off the face of the earth.
I did not know that. Well, that's good news.
So I'm looking for their pictures to show up on a milk carton soon.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So, but it's by the way, neither one of them right now is a government official, because for a government official to attend Bilderberg is a violation of the Logan Act and is punishable by up to 3 years in prison, which Hillary did that while she was a government official, and somehow she dodged her prison time.
Well, these people are above the law.
They let us know it all the time too.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is no surprise. I mean, there's three classes. You have the ruling class, you have the enforcement class, and then you have the public. And the public are not subject to the same freedoms and whatever that the ruling class is. The ruling class, I mean, like, they go about their day without a care in the world because
there's
they
no
run the show.
consequence to their actions.
Yeah, and they've convinced the enforcement class to just be a bunch of order-following slaves and sheepdogs and keep the sheep in line. And that's our dynamic, and the hammer is crashing down every day more and more. The lessons are not being learned, and I think they're being deliberately exacerbated on many different fronts to bring about all kinds of turmoil in this country, and ultimately have it implode on itself to necessitate the greater presence of militarization of police and the greater the complete and utter downfall of our society. And I mean, I sound like a big downer, but like this is what we're facing. So we have to like lift our spirits up. We have to get together. We have to organize our communities, to resist this kind of crap. I was talking to Stuart Rhodes from Oath Keepers a month ago. I was in Arizona with him, and he gave a great speech, and we were talking about it afterwards. And he was saying that, the bad guys always operate. They're always organized. They always operate in teams. Good guys are hardly ever organized, and that's why they get victimized. When good guys organize, they don't get victimized. You can beat the police state if you organize your communities, your neighborhoods, your counties, and develop your own systems that work, that are voluntary, and just prepare for the things that are coming. I mean, I know how that sounds to the uninitiated person, but if what I'm saying sounds bizarre or sounds paranoid or sounds cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, all that means is that you're just not paying attention to what's going on. We are at that point.
A lot of people know it. They just are afraid to admit it to somebody that they don't know real well. They're afraid that people will look at them like that they need to be in a psychiatric ward or something.
Well, we all need to get over that. I mean, Joe, I used to feel that way about 9/11. Yeah, I used to never talk about 9/11 publicly. I would talk about it privately, but not publicly. And I came to a point where I was like, I wrote a song, called Building 7 or Number 7. It's, all about asking questions about Building 7.
Say that a couple times live. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's almost like a country song, and it just asks questions. It's a very poignant questions that it's asking. And I used to be afraid to play it, and I wouldn't play it for anyone. And I just had the realization, why the hell not? What am I so afraid of? Like stop being afraid of scrutiny and ridicule. Just speak the damn truth, and the truth will set you and everyone else free. 9/11 is a linchpin in the whole in the whole sham that's been going on since 2001. All the losses of our liberties and the wars that have gone on, and millions of lives lost, and trillions of dollars spent and wasted, and our economy's in the tank, and the rise in the militarization of police. All of this crap began and was justified by 9/11, and it still is justified by 9/11. So if the average person is not looking at 9/11 with critical thinking, like that in
Let me
itself
tell
is
you,
a problem.
even some people who are above average are just, their normalcy bias is so strong, they just refuse to believe the obvious truth.
Well, because I met the reason I wrote Building 7 song to begin with is because I met a lady who completely freaked out when I mentioned this to her, and I tell this story when I play Building 7 because she inspired me to write the song. She literally had an allergic reaction to this idea. Like, she completely tweaked out. She was twitching. She was shaking. She was so angry. She was hurling insults indiscriminately at everyone within earshot. Because she was traumatized by this event. She was psychologically, emotionally traumatized, as many, many, many people were. So dealing with that trauma is not something that anyone necessarily wants to do. And so they build up this wall and they fortify it, with their own cognitive dissonance, and nothing can get through. It doesn't matter if you present the facts to them. And I actually asked her after she had calmed down, after making the scene, I said to her, what if 20 years from now the truth comes out? It's proven unequivocally this was an inside job. How would that make you feel? And she said that she would feel completely betrayed, and that she would be devastated. She said she'd be devastated. I remember she said she'd be devastated, and I said, well, let that sink in. Like think about this more. That maybe what you think is the truth is not the truth at all, and that you are protecting yourself, in order to save yourself and spare yourself the horrifying realizations of what actually went on, and what the implications of that are.
Exactly.
And I saw the light bulb go on in her eyes, and I saw her fighting it. And I think most people that deny 9/11 truth and ridicule people who advocate for it are in that same boat. Like, they were traumatized. They're angry. They fell for the hype. They fell for the rhetoric. They didn't do their research. They didn't use common sense or critical thinking. They just accepted the story because it was a convenient story. It made sense. There was someone to blame. There was someone to point a finger at, and now, like the police state and the rise of the threat of terrorism, the war on terror, which is a war on nobody. It's a war on phantoms. Will go on forever, and it's become normal. It has become normal.
When they run out of phantoms to fight, they go out and they recruit some more and give them a bunch of weapons so they can have some more people to use. I mean, it's just anybody who's kind of decoded all these messages you get in the propaganda media, and they've learned how to think for themselves can see it real easily, but the rest of the people just fall for it time after time after time.
Well, the question is, how many former CIA operatives and CIA chiefs have to come forward and explain it to the American people before they start to get it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like all you got to do is listen to some of these whistleblowers tell their stories, and you can see very clearly what's going on. I mean, Project Mockingbird, was a CIA program specifically designed to use the media to propagandize the public, and to beat war drums and get them to believe whatever they needed the public to believe in order to accomplish their goals.
That's exactly right, and it's very effective. I mean, Jeff Berwick wrote this a while back, and I thought that he was doing it as kind of a joke, but in order for a joke to be really funny, it also has to be pretty close to the truth. And he says, he was saying, why do you think they call the television stuff? Why do you think they call that programming? And
Yeah, I read that.
that was just perfect. I mean, it's exactly what it is. I really don't watch TV. I even get upset sometimes when I watch a movie because you can spot it if you're looking for it. It's there. And if you watch it, if you go rent a movie or something, they go, oh great, they put that in there because they're wanting you to get used to this because they want you to think that's normal.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, that's what Jade Helm is.
yep.
It's a military exercise trying to make it normal to for citizens and for military to be coexisting in a small town environment. I mean, it's like everything is a psyop. Everything is an inside job now. I mean, it's like they're not even hiding what they're doing anymore. It's so obvious and so it's painfully obvious, and yet, Dancing with the Stars is on. I
Yeah,
mean,
I know, and there's like wall-to-wall news coverage of Caitlyn Jenner, but
well, there were like 10 major things that went on while everyone was distracted with that show that they missed,
and
and that was and,
still not a single major story. I mean, a real story, not just a fluff 10-second soundbite about what's really going on at Bilderberg. No one's done an in-depth study. There's nothing in the newspaper, really, nothing on TV, nothing on the radio, except Alex
well,
Jones.
because the people that attend Bilderberg don't want the general public talking about Bilderberg. It's like Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. They don't want attention brought to. I mean, they deal with the attention that they have, but they own time. They own all the magazines. They own the newspapers. They own the news. I mean, like that. That's the point.
6 companies own 90% of the news media. That's
Yeah, and the CEOs and major shareholders of those companies will be at Bilderberg. I mean, like that's the point. Like they own the propaganda
272
machine.
floating board of directors that are they have common ties to each other and all these different corporations. They all know each other very well. And
Exactly.
they're all at Bilderberg. Yeah.
And they've made it legal to spread propaganda.
Mhm.
I mean, like that's a law in the books now. I mean, it's incredible how far we've gone down the wrong road, and it's a road that as a species we've traveled before in our very recent past, and we're heading there again here, and it's a very sad thing to see, especially for those who have no idea that it's even going on. It's going to hit them the hardest. But folks like yourself and myself, and our brothers and sisters in this struggle, we already know, and we are preparing ourselves for it. And
Yep.
but it's like, how do you even really prepare yourself for it? I mean, we can talk about these things till we're blue in the face. We're only going to wake up a percentage of the population. The powers that be are going to wake up everybody eventually, but by then it may be too late. But to stop it from happening, it doesn't mean that evil will triumph. It's just going to be a really hard struggle, because we have to claim our freedom. We have to claim our inheritance. It's not going to be given to us. You're not going to vote yourself into liberty. It's never going to happen. There is no election that could take place. I don't care if it's Ron Paul. I mean, Ron wasn't going to save us from ourselves. We have to do that. We have to be our own leaders and stand up and care and be part of transforming our communities and our states and our country, and then eventually just evolve out of government, not not even need government anymore. I mean that's where I'd like to see us. I'm a leave me aloneist, and I want to be free of all that nonsense.
Yeah, that's a very peaceful society when people just they've treasured their freedom, and they don't want to restrict their freedom by restricting their neighbor's freedom. And once they understand that simple concept, then everybody gets along pretty well.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I want to talk about another one of my favorite songs, and then we'll get back in. It'll lead us back into more of this discussion. Don't worry, folks. We'll get back to the heavy stuff. But I love this song. This is the first song I really fell in love. This is maybe my favorite song that you did. It's The Reckoning. And
Nice.
Unfortunately, I've never been able to hear this live because he said there's needs some special effects that aren't available when he's doing his one-man concerts.
Next time I see you, I'll play it for you, buddy.
Okay.
I've played it a handful of times since then, and it's not exactly the same, but I'll play it for you next time. I promise.
Um, there's one sequence in here that I think it's just an awesome phrasing of the truth. In vast illusions, unaware, populations in despair surrender all of their control to the parasite without a soul. Now, if that isn't a perfect description of today, I don't know what is. It just that to me, every time I hear that, it just makes me just shiver because I said, "Oh, that's exactly what's happening." Um, First of all, we live in it's kind of a fascist economy, not kind of. It is exactly a fascist economy, and a fascist economy was also known as a vampire economy. It's a parasite. It doesn't produce anything. It just sucks the lifeblood out of life, out of the society, and that a parasite without a soul. That's it. And all collectivist type governments are like that. They don't have a soul. They can't care about anybody, and anybody that tries to be an official in those kind of governments, they just get steamrolled by the people who don't have a soul, the sociopaths. They just rise to power very quickly because they're the only ones that have that lack of empathy to make things happen, quote unquote, for the good of society, which isn't really for the good of society, but they can convince people it is. And so then you have the Hitlers and the Hillary Clintons. Those people rise to the top because they're total criminals. And yes, I said Hitler and Hillary Clinton in the same sentence, folks, because that's how I see her. But
That's hilarious.
I just love that. But it's just really true. Vast illusions, unaware. Populations in despair. Everybody knows that something's wrong, but they don't know what it is. And because they're being fed all this propaganda all the time, they're just confused and they lash out, and they're easily set upon each other by just say, well, it's because of those black hoodlums in St. Louis area there, and whatever that city was called, or the people in Baltimore, or it's those Mexicans coming across the border, and they just set us on each other. And these people are in the same despair you're in despair over, and they're the same confusion you do. And I just hope they don't hate you as much as you hate them, because they're really not the problem. And you're wasting all your energy and time and effort on the wrong things. And I just can't seem to convince enough people of that. They say no, and they're either racist or they're I don't know. They think everything's is going downhill because of people the gays wanting to marry each other, and any assortment of different things. And really, what it is they're trying purposefully to have us at war with each other so that they can divide and conquer us. Because if we're united and we really value freedom, all that other stuff won't matter, and they'll never be able to beat us. That's
you're 100% right. You're 100% right that they are trying to divide us. They're trying to divide us by race, by creed, but by religion, by arbitrary geographical boundaries. They're trying to they're trying to stir the pot. They want to create turmoil. They want to create strife to justify using their military might to crack the hammer down and rebuild society in their image, which is totalitarianism. I mean we've got a watered down totalitarianism now. It's just that we still have a lot of our creature comforts, and so we can't be bothered to notice what else what's really going on, until of course the police state itself brings the hammer down on you, and then all of a sudden I couldn't agree with you more about what you said. And that song, Reckoning, it talks a lot about the time that's coming where all of the aggression that's being perpetrated against the free people is going to come around, and the tables are going to turn. It's like we've come to set it right. You don't want to know the future, but ignorance won't save you from the fight.
exactly.
This is happening whether you know it or not, whether you want to know it or not, whether you care or not. This is still happening, and you are going to be affected by it. There's no way to escape. There is nowhere to go. It doesn't matter where you go on this planet. you're not going to get away from what we call the New World Order. You know, it's making its way, it's making the rounds, and we're seeing its effects all the time, and it's growing and growing, and only through mass civil disobedience and maybe not so civil disobedience, only through not complying with the system can we deprive it of its power. You know, we have to stop consenting to our own slavery. We have to stop consenting.
We have to stop funding our own slavery.
Absolutely.
We
fund our slavery through taxation.
Yeah,
you know,
so we want to find as many ways as possible to avoid taxable events.
Absolutely.
At some point in time, you have to put food on the table, and you have to maybe pay rent or a house payment. But there's also, you know, you don't want to be just slaving away at a job to get more and more and more material things, because you're just, those extra taxes you're paying are just funding your enslavement to the system. You probably should just maybe scale back on what your needs are or should be met, and do the things that are really important, and try and live a little bit more minimally. I didn't say that right. Minimally, so that you can stop feeding the machine. It's chewing you up and spitting you out.
And that's what it's designed to do. I mean, government is a business. The United States of America is a corporate business entity, and its job is to grow. And the only way for it to grow is to deprive the people of their liberties, piece by piece. You know, I mean that is the problem, right? You know, that's a huge part of the problem right there.
I'm just gonna finish talking about this song because the last stanza is really cool, and it just kind of, it always charges me up when I hear it. It says, "Through the hazy mist, I heard a voice. You had your chance. You made your choice." And this is my challenge out to everybody listening to this. You should put that up on your refrigerator. You should just type it up, cut it out on a piece of paper, put it on your refrigerator so you see it every day, because you have a choice every day. And every day you have choices you make, and those choices determine your future.
That's absolutely true.
And
we all make choices, and sometimes, and we make a lot of passive choices, just by being silent, and by consenting to all this nonsense. We're making a choice to continue to perpetuate the situation.
Yeah, and well, I don't want to go off. I want to have people hear you talk, not me so much. So I'll just go on to another question. But let's see. I think we'll probably just skip ahead to the song Trails, which is an interesting song. It's a beautiful melody. And I think it has a lot to do with, let's see, here it is. The first time I heard it, I wasn't really listening to the words too much. I was, oh, that's really pretty. And then when I started to listen to the words, I lost the melody for a little bit, because I was like, what did you say there? And I finally went out and printed them out so I could read them as he's singing them, because my hearing is, I'm getting older. My hearing isn't as great as it should be. And this is as good a line as I've ever heard in a song. Some kind of vicious daydream, like venom dripping from the jet stream, and humans as fragile as the dawn, sing a requiem. Oh, that's when I finally figured out what you said there. I go, holy cow! This is really something. And this isn't just chemtrails. It's vaccines. It's GMOs. We're being assaulted biologically by the corporate machines, and they don't eat this crap. They all eat organic, but this is the stuff they produce to feed to you guys, and you buy it. They make a whole bunch of money, and you get sick, and then the pharmaceutical corporations make a bunch of money keeping you alive, not really curing you or helping you, but just keeping you alive long enough so they can drain you of all your wealth, and then they let you die. What a way to go, huh? So I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I mean, all these cartels are all interlinked. You know, the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, pharmaceutical industrial complex. I mean, they all feed into the agricultural industrial complex. They all feed into each other.
you wrote this 8 years ago, and it is still so relevant today. It's even more relevant, maybe, because it gets worse every year. And this is just an awesome vision into the future for me. I mean, it's just, I
Well, the thing
just,
is, you know, geoengineering has been going on for a long time, but it has long been regarded as a fringe idea, and you know, that this couldn't possibly be true, and anybody who believes this is a kook. Well, you know, all it really takes is to look up in the sky and see something that's wrong. I mean, all over the world, people have are finally beginning to notice, but it's not just the general public finally looking up and saying, that doesn't look right. You know, there are many reputable scientists and lots of whistleblowers who have come forward about, you know, Project Indigo Skyfold. I mean, that is the chemtrails project, is Indigo Skyfold. And I actually have a good friend named Kristen Megan who
mhm.
is a chemtrails whistleblower, and you know, I met her at Next News Network when I was doing a fundraising telethon for them years ago, and we hit it off and had a great conversation. And she told me her story about being in the Air Force for about 10 years. She had an immaculate record, and it was her, where she was stationed. It was her job to catalog the canisters of aluminum and barium and strontium and different heavy metals coming into the base and being attached to the planes, and then cataloging them as being empty as they left. And she did that for years, many years. She did that job, and she started, you know, realizing something wasn't right, and started doing her own research and taking soil samples around the area and collecting data and collecting paperwork, making copies, and started blowing the, you know, it was clear that she was amassing a great, you know, wealth of knowledge and proof, like hard evidence. And the military, you know, came after her, and they threatened to take her child away from her, and they threatened to kill her, and all kinds of things happened to her because she was
Yeah,
asking questions. She was digging into this issue. And you know, when she told me the story, I said, well, you got to go public. I mean, you know, you are the smoking gun. I mean, like, you know firsthand, and you have evidence. You have hard evidence. You got to take it to the world. And she started, you know, after that, she started doing lectures and sharing her story, and she's had a pretty huge impact. And she's not the only one. There's lots of folks that have come forward now and have kind of spilled the beans about Indigo Skyfold and geoengineering and the HART program, and it's all connected. I mean, it's like they've basically weaponized these systems, and you know, they rely on the public's suspension of disbelief. You know, they rely on our, like you said, like our normalcy bias. They rely on us wanting to not believe it and to
they want
not
us to think
wonder
that,
what it
yeah,
is.
our government that we think is there to protect us wouldn't dare, uh, send out misinformation on something as serious as purposefully poisoning the sky with pollutants that cause all sorts of problems for us. They
Yeah.
wouldn't do that, and they wouldn't cover it up and hide that. No, they wouldn't do that. No, it wouldn't happen here. It couldn't happen here. Yeah. So
Well,
all these songs are connected, by the way, people.
yeah, totally. Well, the line in Trails that always got me was one that, you know, just kind of came to me as I was driving. I had the music in playing in my mind, and I heard a voice say, "The will to power serves only the chosen who invoke it, just as hunger baits the wolf, but only innocence provokes it."
I was
And
gonna read that next. That one gets me too.
oh, that's awesome. Well, you know, like that. Like, I mean, it took me a long time to figure out what that line was really, what it meant, and I think it means different things to different people. I've heard people tell me all different kind of interpretations of what that line means. You know, and it's I love hearing people's what people take away from some of the lyrics in these songs that are many times very different than what I had in my mind, my heart when I wrote them. But you know, like, but that's my favorite line from that song.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I bring this up because today here in Medford we have a local um, DJ and has a morning program. I think you were on his show briefly, although he really did a crappy job of interviewing you. He wasn't prepared, and I think he thought you were just some singer. He didn't realize that he was not giving you credit for your vast intellectual abilities. That's for sure. He certainly wasn't aware of any of your music, and but Bill Maher has a pretty good show most of the time, despite all that. He just wasn't prepared for you, and so I oftentimes listen to him in the morning. He's just trying to tell the truth when he can, and so I just had the radio on that thing, and I had to jump back in my car and go get something at the store when I was at work today, and it's the same station that has Rush Limbaugh. Well, Rush isn't there, and I had some guest host on there, and he was trying to tell everybody that genetically modified organisms have been around for eons, and it started when they started crossbreeding corn and Gregor Mendel and the peas, and I'm going, oh my God, this is propaganda. This is this is misinformation. This is so horrible. I had to turn it off before I got sick. We are not being told the truth. Genetically modified organisms are when they shoot different genetic material into the corn and it starts producing its own it's bacillus something, BT toxin corn is what they call it, but it's something that will actually kill the worms and stuff that go in there to try and eat the corn. Well, it also, if you happen to eat that corn, it does that same thing in your digestive tract. It is very harmful to people, and it's really, your digestive tract is the source of all your health. And if you're destroying the good bacteria down there that is helps you digest your food and get nutrition out of it, your health is going to suffer. But this guy was making it sound like all the people that are against GMOs are just buffoons. But he was the buffoon. He's the one that's been fooled into lying to people. He doesn't even know what he's saying, is how ridiculous it sounds. I couldn't listen to him anymore. I had to turn it off. I don't listen to Rush's show anymore because between him and the guest hosts he has, they're all incredibly either naive or they're just on the payroll of the people who run Bilderberg.
It's all status propaganda.
It is.
I mean, there are plenty of places to get accurate, up to date information about what's really going on. Thank God we still have the internet, such as it is, and for the time being, that's why they want to get rid of the internet and regulate it and control it, because it allows for the free dissemination of information between people all over the world, and that's not conducive to the New World Order's plan. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm big into the March Against Monsanto movement and anti-GMO, and I mean, I talk about it quite a lot. Everybody
out there, this should tell you something, that the people that work at Monsanto won't eat the food grown from Monsanto seeds. They refuse to. They only eat organic in the Monsanto cafeteria. That should tell you something. Yeah.
Well, it should also tell you something that executive, that the higher level executives from Monsanto are regularly interchanged with high positions at the FDA. I mean, it's cronyism at its absolute best, or worse, I should say. So they're writing laws. I mean, then this is the definition of fascism: is when corporations run the government. You have the executives at Merck, you have the executives at Monsanto. Regularly interchanging with high positions at these agencies that determine legislation and determine policy, writing bills and passing laws that favor them, but no one's paying attention except for a handful. It's like the rebellion against the Empire in Star Wars. It's like a ragtag band of rebels who are trying to fight the behemoth, and it's. What we need is to wake up the whole mass of the people, and help them to have an emotional response to the threat. And only then will they start to, vote with their wallets, and they will, vote with force of arms. They will vote in solidarity with non-compliance. They will withdraw their consent and refuse to be manipulated. They will refuse to be poisoned.
And if we didn't have a Federal Reserve that has the ability to create money out of thin air, there is no way we'd still be at war all around the world, because nobody would let would let the government take that much money out of their wallet every month, and they
Well,
don't
I totally
realize that
agree,
that
but
money is
but you
being
have to.
taken anyway because of the debasement of the currency. But they don't see that, so they blame it on other things. It's the unions are going on strike. They're going to raise, or they're trying to raise the minimum wage, or something else is causing prices to go up. They don't realize it's really to feed the war machine, which is the title of another song that I really.
Right, but everything you're saying is 100% accurate, but the root cause is not the Fed. The root cause is our compliance.
True.
The
And,
Fed would
and that
die.
was I agree with you. I was just trying to point out that people can't get to that point where they see what the cause is because the Fed kind of shields them from that. They don't realize how much they're paying for these wars, so they can't remove their consent. And it's hard to remove your consent. It's legal tender.
Sure.
It's
Well, the same people that own the Fed own all the corporate all the corporate media that shoves the war propaganda down the American people's throats every
yes.
single day.
And this, since we're talking about the war machine, I'll quote some chilling lines from this song that always make my back get all tingly. Um, Consequence be damned. Send the call for a brawl in a foreign land, while they slide their advantage through the door, getting rich off the blood of the fighting poor. And if that ain't the truth, and he wrote this. There's another stanza in here we'll read a little bit later, but he wrote this 8 years ago when he wrote all the songs for this album, and he's talking about and later on he's talking about a perpetual, endless war. Well, that's just what this has turned out to be. And they ran out of people to fight, so they had to create a new, fanatical enemy over there, and ISIS. They had to go and recruit some people and train them, and have them go out there and commit all these atrocities. So we'd be scared and just consent some more. Yeah, send some more boys off to this war. We don't want them coming to the United States. And then once you understand how bad and evil and how these people operate, it's really pretty easy to see the truth between the lines of what they say. And I can see why Alex Jones is like he is, because he's been able to do this for about 20 years, and he's slowly waking some people up. But this is amazing. This is amazing stuff. And Jordan, you kind of taught yourself how to do this. I'm just so impressed with all these songs you wrote that are so full of the truth, and that's why they're still relevant today, and they're going to be relevant for a long time. It's War Machine.
Well, I was always a songwriter, Charles. I was always writing songs since I was a little kid, but it wasn't until I was about 26 that I started writing songs that were about more than just my own personal life experience. I started writing the songs about what's going on outside of the sphere of Jordan Page, and writing about what's happening to all of us together. And that's when I started having some success with music and seeing the world and getting out there and playing music for
I tell you,
tens of thousands of people.
This song "War Machine" is going to be like "Masters of War" by Bob Dylan. It's just something that people will remember generations and generations and generations. And every time there's an anti-war movement, this is a song that's going to be played. It's so true. Everything about it. It's the banks, they fund both sides of the war. They're going to win no matter who wins. The corporations, they get to gear up for the war thing. They get no bid contracts. They can't lose. The politicians, they get more power. They can control. They get to create more power. So when the war's over, they can line their pockets with more money, because that power means they're bribing them leads somebody else down a road to fortune. So all those people profit from this, and it's all off the blood of the fighting poor. And it's just sickening that we allow this to continue to happen. And we send our sons out there. We proudly send them out there to be slaughtered.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's that sort of that sense of nationalism where we proudly send our children to be slaughtered for for this idea of America. And it's like willful ignorance. It's willful blindness, not looking at what this actually is. I mean, if my child was being called by society to go and fight in a conflict, I would make damn sure I knew what that was really about, and I would make sure that my child knew damn sure what that was really about. If I was the average person, my children will never fight in any war to serve the corporate machine that is the United States. But I mean, my wife and I were watching the new Hunger Games movie Mockingjay
Mm-hmm.
the other night, and the main character Katniss Everdeen, she's singing this song about the hanging tree, and they and the resistance movement put it out as like anti-fascist propaganda, and all the people in all the different districts that were fighting against the fascist capital were singing the song going into battle, and that's like the most I can hope for is that these songs that you're reading the lyrics for will be sources of strength and inspiration for generations to come when they are fighting, when they are resisting and sacrificing and dying. Is that these songs that they will have some value and some purpose, and they will help people in the future. I mean that's what I really hope happens.
Yeah.
Because
And you,
I don't hope that there's a conflict. I know there's going to be one, and I hope that the songs are able to help people down the road.
yeah, and I rambled on for 2 or 3 minutes trying to explain what I said, and you said it perfectly in 2 lines, or maybe 3 lines. And so you see the plan, an endless war, a profit scam. While their systems write the news you read, propaganda plant that seed. In the mindless love of a generation captivated, trained, entertained, and held in bondage. It's just
There it is.
there it is, right there. And I tell you, everybody out there that likes our theme song or likes listen, you need to buy this whole CD, and you need to buy all of Jordan's CDs. It's awesome music, all of it is. I own them all now, and I listen to them quite a bit, and it gives me great joy. I never get tired of them. They're very high quality stuff, and if you want Jordan to be able to write more and perform more and speak more to the things that are ailing our society, and to try and to help society come together as one to become a freer nation, well, you need to support him. It's like you're become a patron of the arts. You can't just let him go out there and do it by himself. He's got a family to feed. He's got lots of kids, by the way. And congratulations on your children. I don't want to get too much into your family because that's your private life and everything, but I think it's awesome that you have 5 freedom fighters in your family now.
Well, we're trying to outbreed the statists, and
I think you're doing a great job.
Raise up a new generation of people who understand what's really going on. I mean, we have deep talks about heavy subjects already around the dinner table, and my oldest is 7, so they're learning it early. And I'm not just telling them what to think. I'm asking them what they think. I'm presenting situations to them and asking them what they think about this and that, and gauging their honest reactions. And I mean, they're very intuitive, and they've got very developed senses of right and wrong, and what's just and what's unjust. And they get it. I mean, if children get it, why can't the rest of us get it? We need real education. We need real training, and that's why we're homeschooling and keeping the state out of our lives and as much as possible, and just teaching the kids what's really going on. I mean, I think it's very important because so many young people today they're slaves to the system they've always known. I was raised by the state. I was raised in public schools and wasn't taught anything about anything, and I was completely unprepared for adulthood and for life and for college. And I just had to learn as I went, and made a lot of mistakes that I could have avoided had I had any real training, and been taught anything of substance and value.
I can echo that. And here I am. I'm at an advanced age. I'm 63 now, and it's probably been the last. The last 20 years. I have really gotten the education I should have had in the first 20 years. And so the first 40 years of my life were kind of wasted away. I mean, I got some good experiences, but they would have been much more valuable to me had I really learned the things I've learned in this last 20 years. It's just schools aren't doing it. They're schools are set up to teach kids to behave, be there on time, and do as they're told. That's
Yeah, it's training for prison is what it is.
mhm.
You know, it's training for prison. I mean, I got a song. I'll give you a lyric, Charles.
Okay.
I got I got a bunch of new songs for the new album, and which is hopefully going to be getting made this year. And you know, there's a song I have called Sedition where I go through, you know, a lot of the big you know, contributing factors to everything that we're talking about. And the last verse is you know, here's to the centers of indoctrination controlled by the power elite, where you're taught to be numb till you're blind, deaf, and dumb, and prepared to accept your defeat. I warn you, disinterested wayfaring children, born to the chains that you bear. The gallows are high and the hour is nigh as you march to your doom unaware.
I remember that you played that. I think you sang that song live on our show the first time you were on.
Oh, maybe I did. I don't know.
I remember parts of this. Yes, and I've heard it in concerts too. But we're getting down to the end here, and I just want to just do a tribute here to Jordan. He's just an awesome guy. I've met him a couple times in person, and I wish I had more time to speak with him in those times and just hang out with him. And this has been just a joy for me. This hour went by really, really fast. But this is a song called I think it's called "Until the Races Run." Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the last paragraph goes like this, or last stanza goes: "Some things in this world mean nothing. Some things mean even less. As you go from one state of motion to another of rest. All that I would love to see happen, Lord, can it be done? Let my feet keep moving until this race is run. All that I ask for, please let it be done. Let my feet keep running until this race is run." And Jordan, you're an inspiration to me, and I hope you're an inspiration to a lot of our listeners and the people that found this show interesting and found Jordan to be really a serious intellectual. Go out and buy his CDs. It helps support him, helps him keep going, helps him keep writing stuff like this, and it really makes our lives better. And it's really given me a lot of inspiration and hope, and I probably wouldn't have come out of retirement to do my current stint owning a liquor store had it been for the just this courage that I hear in all the lyrics of Jordan's songs. And I'm hoping that I can be a patron of the arts and help you to get that next CD off the ground. So hang on. The ending music's going to start here in just a second, and when we disconnect from the network, hang on for just a second or two, Jordan. I got a couple things to talk to you afterwards, and
Sure.
kind of want to make a pledge, and maybe we'll.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for having me on the show, buddy, and hopefully we'll see each other down in the future.
I would have you on more, but I know you have a lot of fans everywhere. I don't want to hog all your time, and you're just awesome. And there's a
right back at you, buddy.
reason we picked your song, and that was the best decision we ever made, and I love to hear it every week. So anyway, thanks to everybody for listening today. Thank you, Jordan, for being here, and I hope you all enjoyed this show as much as I did. This was this awesome hour for me. And next week, we're going to be on with a special story, a local story here from Medford that I think a lot of you people can relate to. We had a local bike store that was broken into, and they had some theft occur, and the guy actually came into their house a little bit. They had the criminal videotape, they had his picture, the cops came to get the evidence, and they ended up writing up on the bike store for some code violations. Thank you, police. Thanks, everybody.
So one more time.